caught my ex screwing some guy in a car. Now her dad begs me to take her back. I told them both to F off. I'm 21, a second semester junior in college, and she is 20. We dated all throughout high school, and she was my first for everything. I loved her like crazy and even bought her a nice ring, signifying that when I graduate, I would get her a real engagement ring. At that point, we had been together for about 5 years. I was just headed into my freshman year of college, and she moved to New York City to live with her mom during the summer of my sophomore year. We made a promise to keep in contact and make it work so she could spend time with her mom for a bit. A week after she moved out there, I lost contact with her for almost 3 weeks. Then she called me back, saying she broke her phone and had to rely on a friend's place in an area with no service. But I let it go and didn't think anything of it. After that, we talked every day. Well, if you could call it talking. Any conversation we had was just me asking questions, and her answering with one-word replies, yes, no, sure, fine, work. On and on, you get the point. We also Skyped, but those calls just turned into staring contests. Before she moved to New York, we were best friends. We talked about everything in great detail, and I knew her life well. I even knew her friends, who all loved me. She knew everything about me and my friends, too. Finally, I found out she was cheating on me. A friend of mine went to see her at work to make sure everything was all right, and he sent me a picture of her making out with a guy in his car, right behind her workplace. He didn't want to jump to conclusions, so he stuck around and actually saw them having sex in the car. When I confronted her about it, she became highly aggressive and defensive, saying she would never do that. Even after showing her the pictures my buddy took, she claimed it was a coworker who just happens to look exactly like her. She works with all guys, not a single woman there, and she even told me that herself. Obviously, we broke up. It's been about 1.5 years now, and her dad has started texting me, saying happy birthday and trying to rekindle a relationship. Her parents loved me, and I really liked them too. They were amazing people, and I told them that if they ever needed anything, I'd be happy to help, just not for her. Anyway, 2 days ago, her dad texted me saying she misses me so much, that she's been crying about it, and regrets everything. He said she just wants her best friend back. She's so sorry now, and her dad thinks it would be helpful for both of us to just talk things out. I told him, though, that I view her as less than dirt right now and will never do anything for her or with her again. Am I being an idiot for not giving her a second chance? Should I even consider talking with her about it? Or am I in the right to just tell her to move on and find someone new? Story 2. This happened 2 days ago. I, 42 male, always knew cheating was a theoretical possibility, but honestly never expected it. It came somewhat out of the blue. We had a good marriage, but she, 46 female, had started hanging out with an old friend. Claims nothing happened until last weekend when she got blackout drunk but still managed to drive to his place. She is genuinely remorseful and knows she effed her life up. She says she will do whatever she needs to make it better, and I think she means it. I will be fine, eventually, and she will most likely struggle, emotionally and financially. Anyway, I filled out the divorce papers and I am leaving them for her to sign with this note. This is what I need. File for divorce. This gives us 60 days to see if it's possible to stay together. But I need to feel like I'm doing something to resolve this. I tried to make a list of things I need from you, but I don't want to feel like a parole officer. You need to tell me what you're willing to do and your plans for following through with it. I strongly believe you will not be able to stick with anything you say. Please think about how you will feel then, knowing you messed up your second chance. It might be better not to try. Here's what I actually think will happen. We are getting divorced. I am keeping the house and the dogs. They will have a better life with me. We try to keep you in their lives, but it doesn't last long. I always think of this as our house and I am very sad. Right now it feels like I'll be angry and sad forever, but I know that's probably not true. I'll see how much of the upstairs bathroom I can do on my own. It will be nice to try something new without you pointing out everything I do wrong. I don't see myself being with anyone else long term. I have an idea for a children's book about our dogs that I never told you about. I try to write it and it's not good. I think about moving but never do. The neighbor kids grow up and everyone we know moves. Soon there's no one here who remembers you. It feels so fast, but it's been 10 years already. I have different dogs and I'm not sad anymore. I disappoint a series of potential partners because I can't commit. I know I should see a therapist, but I never do. It feels like the house hasn't changed, but it's completely different now. The small things add up over time. You probably wouldn't recognize it. One day, hopefully a long time from now, I hear that you passed away and I'm sad again. I think about the life we could have had. I will never know if I made the right choice. Edit. I'll post an update later tonight or tomorrow. Thank you for all of the support. Also, she claims to remember absolutely nothing after getting to the bar. I told her that based on her version of events it sounds like she was abused. And if she honestly has no memory for a 6 to 7 hour time period, she should file a police report. To be clear, I don't think she was substanced. I think she's full of crap. Edit 2. I completely agree with everyone saying being drunk isn't an excuse. She knew what she was doing, decided to cheat already, etc. I have no doubt about that. She is an extremely selfish person and probably thought I wouldn't find out or I would forgive her. I honestly don't care about the specifics, if it happened before or anything like that. And thank you to everyone for the comments. It's reassuring to hear others would take a similar approach. Replying to some comments, the title was meant to be sarcastic. I can see how that didn't come through. She was hanging out with some of our mutual friends. Claims not to remember anything after leaving them to meet up with the guy at a bar. But she drove one other bar, I think, then to his place. I caught her, used Find My iPhone and drove to the guy's apartment complex because I thought my wife might have been dead, passed out in her car. She was a little evasive at first but since admitted it. I'm telling everyone the truth. She has not cheated before, according to her, and I believe her. The second chance I mentioned is the second chance she is trying to get now. Update. It's Monday night at midnight. I've slept about 3 hours since I woke up Saturday morning. Saturday was a lovely day. In retrospect, I think there might have been an undertone of impending doom. But I'm sure that's just my imagination. I actually asked her sleep in the bed with me. I thought I could pretend things were back to normal long enough to fall asleep. That didn't work, so here I am. I feel absolutely no jealousy. That surprises me. This community has been a tremendous help. I had no idea what to expect when I made my posts. It was truly just a vent, but the response overwhelmed me. I realized that I gave no background. We were married for 10 years, 10 half on the dot yesterday. No kids. I had a vasectomy when I was 29. Still one of the best decisions I've made. My dad cheated on my mom when I was 10 or 11. Yes, I know I should see a therapist. Maybe I will now. They stayed together and are still together. I'm convinced it's because my dad feels guilty. I think they both would have been happier if they split. My wife knew that cheating was the one unforgivable transgression in my book, as it should be for most people, I think. I showed her the letter and divorce papers. She asked me what she needed to do, so she apparently stared at the letter for 5 minutes and didn't read it. I thought it was pretty clear. Part of me would like to think she got lost in the tragic but beautiful world I created and forgot about the substance of the letter. So then she just starts rambling stuff that she'll do. Still mostly focused on no alcohol. I asked her to take a minute and actually give me a list. She made a list of 8 or 9 things, most of which I would categorize as things a considerate partner does even when their marriage doesn't depend on it. For example, make dinner once or twice a week, walk the dogs once a day, let me know where she is when she goes out. I also asked for details on how she will stick with the no alcohol rule. What will she do when someone invites her to happy hour? What will she do when I want to have a patio beer on a nice fall day? She clearly hadn't given this any thought. Her plan was I'll just do it. Magical thinking is not a viable plan in my book. So far she is not going to file a police report. She did call the police and they said she can file a report, but it sounds like nothing will happen based on the circumstances. I said I would feel better if she filed a report. What if she actually was substanced? What if this guy has a history of doing it? If she really doesn't remember, then how does she know if she was blacked out but outwardly awake or completely passed out? She said she feels like it would be dishonest to file a report. I asked her what is dishonest about making a truthful report. She didn't have an answer. I talk a big game, but I am a weak person. I'm going to wait to file the divorce complaint. I agreed to do a couples therapy session next week. I have never been to a therapist and want to see if it's like it is on TV. I hope we get Harrison Ford. Jason Segel doesn't have the same gravitas. I'll keep any eye on the comments. Not sure when I'll have another big update. Edit. Thank you all again for the advice and support. Plan is still to leave her. I don't think that being on this sub is good for me right now. I'll try to give updates when something big happens, or next time I'm drunk and need to vent again. Story 3. Got my first career job in a local government, keeping tabs on its real estate and the legal documents relating to said real estate. I'm wet behind the ears, my first 40-hour-per-week career job. This was a time when multitasking was a huge buzzword in business, and it seemed every single job I applied for required someone with good multitasking skills. I thought it was nonsense. I worked best when only working on one task at a time and managing my workload via a daily time allotment schedule. That is, I'd schedule my work in 15-minute lumps when I got in the morning and work on those tasks. That way, I never missed a deadline or had a project fall between the cracks. For example, some tasks got slotted 2 hours, some whole days, some just 15 minutes. I love to keep my desk clean. All tasks that appeared in my physical inbox were sorted and prioritized. The paperwork was then filed, and the task scheduled for later that day, or later in the week depending on how urgent it was. Consequently, my desk was always empty, save one folder and a few maps related to the folder. Once one task was done, that folder and its maps were filed. A new folder and its maps were retrieved. One afternoon my direct boss walks in, looks at my desk with its one folder and 2 maps, looks at my clean top filing cabinets, looks at my empty inbox, physical one you actually put paper, folders in, grunts, walks out. 20 minutes later, my boss strides back into my office, drops 18 inches of folders and papers onto my inbox, states proudly and firmly, "Worker, it doesn't look like you have enough to do. This should keep you busy." He smiled and strutted back to his cluttered office. It was busy work. 3 weeks of mind-numbing paperwork. Nothing outside of my work description. Just more like duplicate files, old contracts, unorganized paperwork, and/or outdated maps. In dealing with the dump's aftermath, I learned my lesson. While doing my actual job was important, it was equally important that hard work appear to be happening, so I could do my actual job. I started saving old files, old maps, and old legal documents. I rebound up papers that normally would have been recycled into legitimate-looking folders. I transformed my office into a duplicate of my boss' chaotic file and paper hellscape. My inbox always had papers and folders in it. Height and number would vary daily, never empty. I had folders piled on top of the file cabinets, folders in stacks on the floor. 24 of those white office boxes packed with files towering around my work area. I even had a map rack with old maps rolled up in it. My office looked utterly cluttered. I even took to walking everywhere with a steno pad, a file folder, and sometimes a map under my arm. Didn't matter where. Getting coffee, pad and file. Pooping, pad and file. Pointless meeting, pad, 2 files. Actual necessary and productive meeting, pad, relevant file, relevant map. Every morning, right after scheduling my real work, I would shuffle the fake folders and paper around my desk and work area, move the boxes about every 2 weeks. But in all that visual chaos, I kept one area of my desk clean, where the real work happened. One day, my boss peeked into my office, the door bumping into a stack of 3 full, white boxes placed behind it, preventing it from fully opening. A single file fell off the top, spilling its guts all over the floor. He looked around, paused at the mess he just made, then, sorry about that. What you working on?" I rattled off 3 of the highest priority properties on the current week's schedule, and the tasks for each. "All right, I'll give this to someone else," and walked on down the hall. I'd already completed those tasks. Story 4. I twisted and sprained my ankle Monday morning packing up our camp from Labor Day weekend. Having done this a few times in the past, I didn't want to bother to have it checked out. Who wants to pay $1,000 for urgent care to tell you to rest and ice it? Yay America. So I went to work Tuesday. I got morning stuff done and explained the situation to my boss, told him I'd need to take the day because it was swollen and painful, and I needed to rest and be off of it in order for it to heal. He gets in a tizzy because God forbid anyone needs to miss work for anything at all ever, and snaps at me for not planning to go to the doctor. Wednesday I go into work, still limping and still wearing improper footwear. I can only fit the injured foot into a crock without unbearable pain. The first thing the boss says is, "Don't you think you should get that checked out? I don't understand why you don't want to just pay for it." I explain again that I've had this injury in the past. It's definitely not broken and honestly not even as swollen as it has been when I've done it before. I want to be at work to keep up on things and make everyone's job less difficult. I would just need to take it easy for a couple days, which isn't a problem considering I can do 90% of the job from my desk. And the 10% slack is beyond easy for everyone to pick up, especially when not being there makes them pick up 100% of it. This gets met with more attitude, so I ask if I'll be getting paid sick time for the day I missed yesterday. He says no, not without a doctor's note. You can visibly see the injury clear as day, and I'm trying here, so WTF. I'm fed up by this point, so a little later on I say okay and leave to go to the doctor's for the note he wants so badly, knowing full well what they'll say to treat it and that I'll need to be off of it for 3 to 5 days. After an x-ray and getting the yup it's sprained, keep doing what you've been doing, I let them know my boss asked for a note for missing a day of work to rest it. Doc asks if I want to be at work to do what I can and stay off of it as best as possible. I said that's what I've been trying to do, so I'm fine with that. I do have sick time if it would be more beneficial to be off of it for a couple days. She comes back with a note that I may return to work on 9/9, which would be Monday. I took a picture and shot it over to boss man. Just the photo. He replies, "What wrong with ankle?" which I met with no response considering none is needed. He got his note. I just wanted a day of sick time, 8 hours. Now he's paying me 4 days, 32 hours. He can't refuse a second of it. TLDR, sprained my ankle, tried to work and do what I can. Boss gets snarky because he can't understand a person that makes $600 a week not wanting to pay $1,000 to be told something they already know. He insists on a doctor's note to pay 1 day of sick pay. Doctor writes note to take me out of work for the week. ETA, I have an HSA and I'm on a high deductible health plan by choice. I'm not losing any real money in this situation and it was well worth the price either way. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.